Before I start the show this week, I'd like to ask you to become a patron of our show by going over to Subscribestar and giving us a monthly amount, or you can go to houseofsunny.tv and give us a one-time PayPal donation. We are totally fan-funded. We really could use your support, and the more support we get, the more we'll expand the show, the more stuff we can do. We'll start to have guests. We can do some live video. To all our existing subscribers, thank you very much. We really appreciate you.
You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Loman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Loman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the House of Sunny podcast. Today we're going to do a quick coronavirus update, a Royal Watch update, and then we're going to play some of the Oscar speeches and rip that apart. Maybe we'll get to some conversation about the likely presidential nominee for the Democrats, Bernie Sanders, and that whole thing. That's, we can wait till that actually happens, but we'll see what we get to after we rip apart some of these speeches. All right then. Coronavirus update.
Coronavirus update. Dang a dang a dang 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 dang.
So it's really, the update is just that it's spreading. Hello. Nothing really new has happened. It just continues to spread and it's going to continue to spread. I think everybody realizes it's going to become endemic, which means it's just going to be everywhere. And it's just a matter of like, how can we slow it down? Can we not have this sort of crazy thing happening in China where everybody's trying to go to the hospital at once? And now you have a situation where they're just tossing people into camps and with I don't know if you saw any of this footage, but I'm laughing. It's not even funny. It's like these 1,000-bed hospitals that they supposedly built. They're really just quarantine camps. And there have been reports that they don't have bathrooms, they don't have running water, there's no hot water, and they have to walk 200 meters to get to a bathroom sick. You know what I mean? Mm. And they're just laying there in beds with no protection from each other. So they're all it's like the most horrible situation. And then so all these reports start coming out, and then China releases, oh no, here video from camp of people dancing. And it's like, yeah. 20 sick people that are able to still move around with masks on, and they're doing this like weird slow dance, and there's like 3 officials in hazmat suits egging them on, dance, like it's so creepy. Nobody sick wants to get up and dance, so it just was like super creepy. They're trying to offset the reports coming out that China's basically tossing all their people, and all these reports of people being forcibly removed from their comfortable houses and apartments and put into this type of facility as they try to control the spread of this thing. And of course, I would assume that results in a higher case fatality rate or serious complication rate, because sick people need to be babied, they need to be warm, and, they need to have soup, not put into a camp with no hot water. And it's just very creepy what's happening over there.
Well,
so
there was a big announcement last night that they redefined or adjusted.
It was a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Well, actually, it came out last night because the markets sold off on it. They readjusted the number up by 15,000 cases.
Oh, yes. So what they did was first they readjusted their standards for how they were reporting as infected. So if you came out positive on the test, but you didn't have any symptoms, then they wouldn't consider you as having the virus. And they changed that. That was 2 days ago. And so there was this weird sort of curve off of new cases as they subtracted.
It went from about 4,000 on February 4th to about 2,000 on February 11th. and now it's 15,000. So it had gone from 4 to 2,
Yeah.
and then in one day they redefined it, and now it's 15. Oh, sorry. Oops.
No, they
It's actually
redefined it a
15,000.
couple days ago, and then all of a sudden they have this huge jump. But that's still with the redefined numbers. They're still not counting people who tested positive but don't have symptoms. So, but what we all know is that these numbers are all BS anyway. So I don't know that it even matters. I mean, they can't test people. They also recently admitted that there are many, many cases that they have not reported. So they did come out and admit that.
So why do they lie? Why are they like, how does it benefit anyone for them to lie?
Communists are weird, aren't they? I was watching that movie, One Child Nation on Amazon, which I recommend for everybody. It's, forget about it lets you know how evil and wicked the Chinese government is. Mm-hmm. It's just chase down an 8-month pregnant woman and forcibly abort her baby. That's considered reasonable.
It's horrifying.
And some other, it goes on and on. You have to watch that movie. But in addition to that, they have these eerie, they show you the propaganda that was used to say, oh, one child is the best way, one child per family, And then they changed the policy in 2015, and then they had the same creepy propaganda going, two child, good for, And it's like, and it's this weird, like these 40, 50-year-old women doing this strange slow dance on stage with fans going, one child, two child, I'm like, how is that going to convince anybody? And it's not. It's this, it almost reminds you of the North Korean weirdo dances that they have and the kind of creepy, colorful, you think nobody can fall for this. Nobody's this stupid. And this is a group of people with the supposedly high IQs, right? The Chinese. So what it is it's not really designed to convince anybody anymore. It's just a way of saying, this is what you will do, and this is what you will think. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to be sophisticated.
What we see over and over again in these cases of these communist dictatorships is, there's a deeper point, and it goes to, the scariness of the Bernie socialists here, which is that when you're oriented to reality, which you have to be in a market economy where there's an objective arbiter, like if no one buys your stuff or employs you, you're done. So like if you literally don't have bread or your hospital's killing people, like not only will you get sued, but you'll go out of business. So there's like an actual negative consequence to trying to thwart reality. In a communist system, where you have central planners and everything is political, the way people rise and fall is only through politics, which is through cronyism. Right. And
just think about the worst idiot at your corporation that gets a raise or gets promoted because he's politicked properly and he sucks.
Right.
And imagine a whole government run by those guys.
Which can even happen in a free market where you have a big, bureaucratic corporation. That happens, of course, in a business where you have 20 people, that can happen. So imagine now you have the Communist Party trying to control and plan the lives of 1 billion people, and everyone's lives and careers depend on perception and politics. And so you're not oriented really to reality, and you don't really care about people because there's really no consequence to you. If, 1 million people die in Wuhan, so what? How does that affect you? It only affects you, if you get fired by the party chairman.
Well, speaking of getting fired by the party chairman, the Wuhan Communist Party chiefs have all been removed. That'll fix it.
Yeah, that'll get it done.
They've got 8 more Communist Party chiefs with the exact same, I mean, these guys didn't do anything but what they were told, because that's what people do in China. They only do what they're told. So
yeah, it's a culture. It's certainly a culture there to save face and to worry about what other people think of you. And, the whole culture there is oriented that way. But I think even under any sort of bureaucracy where people are not oriented to reality, but they're oriented to the perception of other people, their self-interest is to just create a perception to keep, their own job and to not get fired or killed by the government. So, it's a really sick inversion. And I think we look at these situations like just in total disbelief, because could you imagine just being in a city where millions of people are sick and dying, and you're lying about it instead of saying, hey, here are the numbers, here's what's going on, this is what we need to do to solve this. You wouldn't be like, no, everything's fine. Yeah, there's like a couple hundred people sick. Right. And it's sort of like George Costanza, like when he's, lies and lies and lies and
right.
takes his parents-in-law out he claims he has a summer house and they call his bluff and they keep going. I mean, it's like,
pay no
at some
attention.
point you're going to get
Pay no attention to the piles of dirt that we've pushed in front of the roads to keep 11 million people in.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to that. Like, nothing to see here.
Or the stacks of bodies that they're cremating. I mean,
yeah. Oh, that video with the body bags in the back of the bus. That doesn't mean anything.
And you know what's frightening too is that this is in the era of social media, where everyone's got video on their phone stuff. Imagine what these people did before that. Like, think of the things. Yeah. Can you even imagine? And this is why, you hear the stories about millions of people being murdered by Mao and by Stalin and these various communist dictatorships. And you can't really get your head around that number, but we're seeing this live. They're talking about them. There's a video of these guys pulling old women out of their homes, like kicking and screaming and throwing them into vans. I mean, this is happening in front of the world's eyes.
Right.
I mean, imagine what happens when the cameras aren't on.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too. And the marketplace, the marketplace overall, but also in the marketplace of ideas. When I'm watching this documentary and I'm seeing this really weird, simplistic, that's not going to sell anything to anybody propaganda stuff, but they don't have any competition there either. And especially back then, this is pre-internet, a lot of it. And so when you have no marketplace of ideas, you also don't have to be sophisticated in your marketing, So yeah. I think it's also kind of proof that they also just don't have to bother with any kind of significant messaging, because they had shut down any opposition speech, so that it doesn't really matter. So yeah, and then I think in the context of what's going on here with Bernie Sanders, an avowed communist and certainly a socialist, but also a communist.
Yeah.
And he and some of his people have come out and said people like us should be in camps, re-education camps, and they've actually said that already. And he has not disavowed those men working on his campaign. So he agrees with this, you guys. I mean, he's a stuffy, like an old man. He's a grandpa that we can hug, and he's going to give us a candy. But no, he's actually just like these frickin' Chinese freaks, dragging people out of their apartments, murdering 8-month pregnant babies, or fetuses, I guess, 8-month-old fetuses. I mean, that's who he is. Just because he seems like a kindly old man. Like, I feel like we're losing our minds here in this country.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of, poor Bernie sentiment, because the mainstream Democrats are trying to rig everything to get him out, because they think that he's going to lose badly, and he's
Buttigieg now, I guess. And Buttigieg is an establishment hack. Let's be clear about who he is. He's not some obscure politician from wherever he's from, mayor of whatever. He went to Harvard, everybody. He's got elites behind him. He's an establishment guy.
Well, and the Democrats, you can see it in the media. They're all freaking out. There was this big dust up this week where James Carville, Chris Matthews went after Bernie Sanders. where some real mainstream sort of old school Democrats are coming out and going and saying, guys, what the hell are we doing? This is crazy. You know, you can't have.
They don't care that he's a communist. They don't really care. He's just not one of theirs.
He's not going to. They're just afraid he's not going to win because he's publicly too extreme. And what I'm saying is, don't fall for the poor Bernie sentiment when the Dems are trying to rig this primary, because this is a guy. Bernie's a guy who wants to violently seize control of our industries and our lives and overturn the American system. I mean, he's an avowed communist. He went to Russia and praised the Soviet Union during the Cold War.
Right.
Right. You know, he wants to outlaw.
When we knew what was going on over there. We knew what was going on over there when he went over there and got married there or engaged or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
and he was praised them. And so I was listening to a Democrat the other day saying, you know, we can all say Happy Martin Luther King Day, but he walked with Martin Luther King. I'm like, that's because he didn't have a job. You know what I mean? That guy hasn't had a job his whole life. So he can run around and virtue signal and do whatever, but that doesn't mean that he isn't a crazy Stalin-esque communist.
Well, yeah, so. And what's ironic too is that here's a guy who wants to unleash political violence on our country and our people, on innocent Americans, to steal, you know, their wealth and redistribute their wealth to people who haven't earned it, and to nationalize industries and so on. And he's crying foul over a rigged election.
Welcome to communism.
Welcome to communism, guy. Yeah.
And let's keep that in mind as we see the way China is and the way they act, that this is basically Bernie's ideal. The way that everything is going in China is what Bernie wants. So let's not feel sorry for him. Okay, let's move on to the Royal Watch.
Now it's time for the House of Sunny's Royal Watch.
It's brief. I just want to say that I predicted that these two would make $1 billion. They would become billionaires. And that they're primarily motivated by that. And I think, you know, and feeling good about themselves and feeling, you know, it's their self-esteem is going to hinge on how much money they're making and how woke they are, these two. And so they just did a speech in Florida and Miami for JP Morgan, and there are reports that they received between $500,000 and $1 million for that speech.
Wow.
So they're basically in the top, you know, they're at Obama level money making with the establishment, and they're going to be out there preaching this woke statist crap because that's what they do. That's what Meghan's already been doing. And Harry's gotten worse now that he's with her and he's detached from the royal family. Now he can get political. And so all this establishment money, all these people are swirling around them to make sure that they are successful and they make a ton of money. And then of course there's Instagram and the merchandising and stuff off of their fame, their Kardashian fame. They're famous for nothing except for their names at this point. So that's what's happening there. We'll keep up with that because, you know, I just want to say I'm right. I'm seeing it unfold. They're so interested in their privacy and their normal life that they are jetting to Miami to give speeches for $500,000 million. So there
Poor
you
thing.
Go. Yeah.
Well, she's suffering from racism, remember?
Oh, right.
So she should be getting $600,000
for her slightly black
speech,
skin, apparently.
But apparently she's only getting $500,000.
Yeah. Oh, poor
she
thing.
Should be getting $550 if she was white.
Poor thing.
She was fully white. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the Oscars. That also happened over the weekend, and we had a few speeches, I think, of interest, a couple of woke speeches. And I watched the Oscars when I didn't see Brad get his award, Brad Pitt, but I did see Joaquin Phoenix get his. I had to mute him because I just couldn't bear it. I couldn't watch it. He started, and as soon as he slipped into his crazy, I mean, this guy's super radical. He's the vegan who turned the Golden Globes vegan, and his emaciated. He's got the pudgy vegan look, where he's like sort of puffy and not unhealthy in that way. Yeah, he just eats carbs. He's a they shouldn't call it the vegan diet. They should call it the bread diet.
The bread. Yeah. What else can you eat?
Bread and beer diet. Because that's what this that's why he looks puffy and sick. And his girlfriend has the other one where she looks like she's starving and pale. So she's on the vegetable diet, the grass diet. And the two of them, have been, well, him in particular, because he's popular right now and winning awards, he was able to kind of woke, what do you want to call it when you shame an organization into doing something? He kind of got the Golden Globes to go vegan at their dinner.
He's vegan. He animal shamed them.
He meat shamed them.
Cow shamed them, yeah.
I mean, these people don't even eat dairy. They think milk is bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I guess he mentioned that in his speech. So we'll play the speech and we'll talk about it. But let's start with Brad Pitt. And I don't even really know what he says because I heard it was woke, but I didn't. So we're going to react in real time here.
Oh.
So hang on. Turn up my volume.
For this honor of honors. They told me I only have 45 seconds up here, which is 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton this week.
Woo! Yeah.
Oh, those mean Republicans.
About it. In the end, the adults do the right thing.
Poor John Bolton.
Quentin Jerome Tarantino, you are original. You are one of a kind. The film industry would be a much drier place without.
Brad Pitt is apparently an expert on the legalities of impeachment.
Yes.
He apparently is a lawyer. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
And I love the ethos you gave Cliff Booth. Look for the best in people. Expect the worst, but look for the best. Leo, I'll ride on your coattails any day, man. The view's fantastic. And to the rest of the cast and crew, Big Bad Bob Richardson, Robert Garcia, Richie.
I don't even know if he says more woke stuff or.
I also want to say, while we're doing all this, I think it's time we give a little love to
Here
our
comes.
stunt coordinators and
Oh, no.
our stunt.
Well, that's nice.
Stunt people.
Listen.
Here we go.
I'm such a good person that I appreciate the lowest, low people on my movie.
Yeah.
Not just the director, but I appreciate the guy sweeping the floor. That's how good I am.
If only John Bolton could have spoke. What about Hunter Biden? Was he going to be a witness?
Yeah, by the way, they hated John Bolton 2 weeks ago. He was like the worst war hawk imaginable.
Yeah.
And now he's like,
neocon.
we need to hear what he has to say. Do you want to hear what Hunter Biden has to say? He didn't mention Hunter Biden. That's interesting. He didn't mention that. I'm sure he meant to say Hunter Biden, Doug.
He did, yeah. That he just didn't have time. He only had 45 seconds.
He only has 45 seconds.
Or the whistleblower. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's his name?
Eric Ciaramella, the guy. Yeah.
Our video just got banned.
So we're off.
The gobsmacked. I'm not one to look back, but this has made me do so. And I think of my folks taking me to the drive-in to see Butch and Sundance and loading up my car and moving out here, and Gina and Ridley giving me my first shot, to all the wonderful people I've met along the way. To stand here now.
What did he get? What did he win?
I think that's the truth.
He won Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time.
My kids who color everything I do. I adore you.
Okay, so that wasn't too woke. He doesn't like Trump. That's not the most woke thing I've ever heard. I think Joaquin Phoenix is gonna exceed that.
Yeah, I thought he said a lot more than that. Okay.
All right. Here's Joaquin.
Oh no.
God, I'm full of so much gratitude right now.
God, I'm full of so much gratitude right now.
And muffins.
And I love
bread.
I'm really an arrogant prick, but right now I feel so grateful.
And I do not feel elevated above any of my fellow nominees.
Oh my God, right? I'm not better than anybody.
Then leave.
Or anyone in this room.
Why are you there?
Because we share the same love, the love of film, and this form of expression has given me the most extraordinary life. I don't know what I'd be without
So you
it.
love America then?
But I think the greatest gift that it's given me, and many of us in this room, is the opportunity to use our voice for the voiceless.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Oh, God. No. It gives you the opportunity.
Everybody has a voice. If you have fucking Twitter, you have a voice.
It gives you the opportunity to make movies. That's what it gives you the opportunity to do. Stop preaching and lecturing us. Right?
I kind of want to hear more
I've been
lecture.
thinking a lot about some of the distressing issues that we are facing collectively. And I
He's
think
just
at
crying.
times we feel, or we're made to feel, that we champion different causes. But for me, I see commonality.
Do you think he sees commonality with you and me?
No.
So what's he
No.
talking about?
He's made to feel that he champions. What?
I don't know. He's got that leftist speak where he's sort of overwordy.
Overwrought. Overwrought and overwordy. Yeah.
Whether we're talking about gender inequality or
Oh, no.
racism or queer rights or indigenous rights or animal rights, we're talking about the fight against injustice. We're talking
What about the right of a little girl to go to the bathroom without being afraid of being molested? Does he think he included that in his list?
Animals have rights?
the
Okay.
fight against the belief that one nation, one people, one race, one gender, or one species has the right to dominate, control, and use and exploit another with impunity.
Yeah, that's called nature. That's called the food chain. Do lions abide by this?
I think that we've become very disconnected from the natural world.
That's for sure. No shit.
Just after you said lions, he's like, the basically the dog eat dog, survival of the fittest nature is what he's saying is not good. And then he's saying, we're very disconnected from that.
He's calling for like legal justice system protections for like sloths and amoeba. And then he says we're disconnected. Yeah, you are, dude.
Yeah,
we're not.
He is so disconnected.
The people that eat animals and care for them, like farmers, they're the ones who are connected.
Is an egocentric worldview, the belief that we're the
Yeah,
center of the
it is.
universe.
We
go
are.
into the natural world and we plunder it for its resources.
That's what we do.
We feel
Yay,
entitled
humans.
to artificially inseminate a cow, and when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. And then we
Have you ever heard a cow's cries of anguish when its baby is, I don't know, steal his baby? Like, I don't know who does that. I don't think people steal cows' babies routinely because
Well, they
don't
actually-
the cows need to feed the baby? Don't the cows need to feed their calves?
No, actually, I have an article here from a dairy farmer who responded to this.
Okay, well,
There's like
let's get into that when we finish the speech. But
Hold your
there-
breath for this.
Okay.
take her milk that's intended for her calf, and we put it in our coffee and our cereal. And I think we fear the idea of personal change.
By the way, he doesn't mean him. He means you because he's a vegan. So when he says we put it in our coffee, he means you. You put it in your coffee. You're evil.
Because we think that we have to sacrifice something to give something up. But human beings at our best are so inventive and creative and ingenious. And I think that when we use love and compassion as our guiding principles, we can create
Not survival.
and implement systems of change that are beneficial to all sentient beings and to the environment. Now,
How?
I've been a scoundrel in my life. I've been selfish.
Oh,
I've been
here it comes.
at times hard to work with and ungrateful, but so many of you in this room have given me a second chance. And I think that's when we're at our best. when we support each other, not when we cancel each other out for past mistakes, but when we help each other to grow, when we educate each other, when we guide each other towards redemption. That is the best of humanity.
Is this a religion he's talking about? Like he's literally using religious words.
Did he just come out against cancel culture?
Yeah, he did actually. But
That's cool.
But only if you are educated and redeemed.
And redeem him. So if
You have to absolve your sins before you can
Yes.
be accepted back. But yeah, he's
Repent.
saying there must be a path to a redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this kid was brought up in a cult, by the way, that Children of God cult in like the freaking jungles of South America.
Was he really?
Just FYI.
Woo!
Yay, we love
Yeah, justice, animals, sentient
redemption. Actually, they're all clapping because they're all scoundrels. And he just said,
beings. Don't cancel me.
he just said, we won't cancel you. You can absolve your sins. You know, I'm a
Yeah, that
sinner.
sounds
You're
very
a sinner.
It's very Christian.
and we can be absolved. Woohoo! Yay! I'm glad we can be absolved. So, in other words, you can take that fancy jet and you can fly it around as long as you repent and you redeem yourself. It was so funny. One of the things that cracked me up that I thought was so elitist was when Harry and Meghan were getting in trouble for flying privately while lecturing everybody else about their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And then Elton John said, I purchased credits for them to do that. Like, I purchased carbon credits. Like, what at the store you bought? Like you spent $1 million to make it okay that they. I believe that you can give to this certain charity that cancels carbon use or something, and then that charity does this environmentalist work or something like that.
That's like chopping a goat. That's like when the Aztecs would chop a goat's head off or something. Like you're giving you're paying money into some fund and that absolves you of the carbon.
How elitist
crime.
can you get though? Like, I can use the private jet because I have millions of dollars. I can buy my indulgence
Yes.
and I am still virtuous. You poor plebs, you have to stay off the planes because you can't afford that. Like, it's okay that Harry and Meghan flew that private jet because I purchased credits on their behalf at the frickin' indulgence store, the environmentalist indulgence store.
You know, this is what's funny too is that like he's acting as if he's discovered some new ethical precept in human history. Like, hey, I did something wrong and you gave me a second chance, so you didn't kill me or cancel me or ruin my career. And everyone's like, woo, like yeah. Like as if this is
right.
Wait, what? Forgiveness, second chances?
Right.
I've never heard of this.
Improve yourself. Other people go, hey, I forgive you, dude. Like, yeah, that's called normal freaking human behavior in
Like
a Western
Hollywood.
civilized society.
Wait, you know, when someone that the mob thinks made a mistake, we're supposed to destroy them. This guy's saying something very different here.
He's saying, if we don't drink milk, then we can do whatever we want.
If we don't steal the cow's calf, and that leads to anguished moos, I think we can't wait, huh?
If we make a mistake, we can just buy some carbon credits.
Maybe you can buy like anguished calf credits.
Oh, maybe you can. Yeah. I maybe they'll start to have like a website where you can mark down which sin you committed. And then there's a price attached to that. And yeah, you just freaking pay. So if you're rich, you can feel good about it.
Where does the carbon credit money go? Like
in the pockets of the priests, man. Where do you think it
the
goes?
Carbon priests.
The environmentalist priests get it
They
so
light
that they
a candle.
so that they can have Pedophile Island.
It goes to Jeffrey Epstein's
That's
island.
what they want. That's what is happening here.
Okay, it all makes sense now. It's all coming into focus for me.
You know what it sounds like? Late stage Catholicism, like right before Luther, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think we need a reformation here.
We do. We need some 95 Thesis stuff.
That's kind of what he's doing. Maybe he's the new Luther, Joaquin Phoenix.
So.
He's railing against the
pure.
papacy
He's
of Hollywood.
more pure than the rest of you.
Yeah, he's tired of this monolithic, system of power and privilege that's canceling everybody. He wants redemption, man. He's a scoundrel.
Pure. I was a scoundrel, and now I'm pure because I don't drink milk in my coffee. Of course, has he thought about the coffee beans and the rape of the rainforests? Like, he just needs to curl up and die because everything he puts in his mouth requires some kind of destruction of his ideal of untouched nature and animals. Like, eventually, what is he going to do? Kill himself? Literally, because there's not a thing that he does that doesn't in some way harm.
Plunder
I don't want to say harm, but it changes the earth or whatever, in a way that this pristine world is their ideal. Every morsel of food that he puts in his mouth, besides maybe going out into his backyard and just chomping the grass back there, is problematic.
Yeah, I don't think the earth cares.
It doesn't scream in anguish when you remove its child grass.
I think the earth is okay. In fact, I think if we dig it up or we dig up stuff, I think it's fine. I think the earth is fine with that. I haven't heard any complaints.
All right.
When he was 17, my brother
wrote
this lyric. He said, "Run to the rescue with love and peace will follow." Thank you.
Huh?
Oh, these poor people. I almost feel bad for them.
Love is the answer.
The inner torment that guy must live with.
Oh, God. No wonder they're all suicidal and on drugs.
Yeah, they were in that Children of God cult in it was worldwide, but I think they lived in the jungle somewhere in freaking South America.
In West Hollywood?
Yeah, in the West Hollywood jungle. No, they were in the literal jungle. And where the animals were nice to each other and nobody got hurt. And anyway, that cult is known for its sexual abuse of children and for requiring.
What cult is not known for that?
Oh, yeah, good point.
I think that's the whole purpose of
it might be. There's some sexual purpose to every cult.
Of course.
It's all a play to have sex and weirdly.
Of course it is.
To have weird sex.
Why else would you do it? Money and sex.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they started out not that way, but then I guess they were drifting that way when the family got out, because it wasn't just kids that they were trying to have sex with, the leaders of this cult, but it was the adults were supposed to use sex to get people into the cult. So they apparently left when that started happening and then came to California, and that's when they pushed their kids into acting so that they could make money
really
for them and live off of their children.
Well, if you're going to let an adult fuck your kid, don't do it in the jungle. Go to Hollywood, and then you get paid.
Yeah.
And then you're a parent, and you get paid. And then, until your kid's 18, you get to keep all the money.
Yeah, I mean, River Phoenix.
That's what these Hollywood parents do,
River
right?
Phoenix was popular right at that time when like Corey Feldman and Corey Haim were popular. Like that's that time period when those kids were raped and allegedly. And by the way, Corey Haim apparently is about to reveal the name of the person, but I thought I heard that 5 years ago too, so I'm kind of confused.
Corey Feldman?
Yes. I saw an ad
I think
yesterday.
Corey Haim died.
Did I say Corey Haim? Corey Haim is dead from suicide.
Yeah, because he was raped as a child and molested. And then Corey Feldman's been out there threatening to reveal
the name. And he has not. And apparently he's going to do that. But I've heard that before with another like clickbait kind of thing, and it didn't happen. So I'll wait until it's in the news. Anyway, yeah, so that was his speech. I don't know what to say about that. Lastly, we have a speech here from Renee Zellweger, who accepted the award for Best Actress for her portrayal of Judy Garland. And the thing that struck me about this speech, I did watch this speech, is she's actually got the opposite message of like, hey, everybody, like there's things we all value. Let's come together and unite the country. the value, and she lists a few things that she feels like everybody can value, which she's wrong. But it's very naive of her to think that these crazy
animal rights
communist idiots are actually valuing the things that she lists. They don't. Anyway, you'll hear that. But what struck me the most was her almost apologetic and meek tone, because she's surrounded by wolves, like she's surrounded by these commie freaks. And she's saying, hey, everybody, don't we all value the same things, including the deplorables? I mean, she's clearly talking about everybody in America, not just.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so listen
can't do
to this.
that.
You can't do that, yeah. And she's so apologetic and her demeanor is so apologetic, and it was almost sad. Like,
the flyover state people, you can't.
She's dead.
Like them.
She's dead to Hollywood after this.
Yeah,
And
she's
she didn't
done.
even say anything controversial. She just obviously said, can't we all get along? No. After Joaquin Phoenix says love and we all have things in common, he's only talking about uniting the radical left.
Right.
That's all he's talking about. And he's not talking about love of us. So, but here's her saying, can't we all just get along and love each other? And aren't we united by similar values? No, actually, we're not. Renee?
Thank you to the Academy. Thank you for inviting me here alongside one of the most special collaborations and meaningful experiences of my life. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Cynthia, Scarlett, Charlize, Saoirse. I have to say, boy, it is an honor to be considered in your company. David Livingstone, Cameron McCracken, beautiful movie.
I forwarded.
Stage moms,
Forwarded.
Finn Whitrock,
Forwarding.
my extended family,
Forwarding.
Nancy Ryder,
Forwarding.
you for always dreamers who came here with nothing but each other and a belief in the American dream, possible that makes you believe.
Okay.
Thank you to you, Big Brother Drew, Brandy, Judy, Stone, and Ava for all the love and support possible that makes you believe anything is possible. And I have to.
By the way, can you hear that the Botox in her face
Is that what that is?
has made.
I thought she had a southern accent.
She does have a southern accent. No, Botox doesn't give you a southern accent. But you can hear that it almost.
Lot of love. I'm trying to keep my face paralyzed like I have Botox.
Yeah, you can have a southern
Lot of
accent with no movement in your face.
Yeah, it creates
Actually,
a southern
it
accent.
sounds almost like she has a tongue ring in, one of those tongue piercings.
Yeah.
Because like her upper palate is so numb that she can barely speak. That's what I'm just trying
Maybe
to
that's
point
what it
out.
is.
Yeah, it's like she has
I thought she was just meek and quiet and like affected, but you're saying it's Botox.
I think it's
Her mouth's
Botox and
paralyzed.
filler in her mouth, because you get those mouth wrinkles. I think the only cure is just to pump in a ton of.
What's that stuff they put in your lips?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Filler?
They inject your lips.
Yeah, I
Did
think
you
there are
see
different
that?
things you can inject into your lips. You can inject your own fat.
Nice.
But then they also have different fillers. I don't know the names of them, but there are a bunch of different kinds. Okay. But
we'll
I
get
think
back
that
to you.
causes you to, your upper palate, like the upper part of your mouth becomes so numb. And you can hear that she sort of struggles to enunciate. So listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
say that this past year.
Past year.
Yeah.
Past year. So when you can hear that, right?
It's like when you're numb when you leave the dentist.
That's right.
From Novocaine.
That's right.
It's the
She
same
sounds
thing.
like she just had a root canal. All right.
Judy Garland, across genders and across generations and across cultures
Huh?
has
Listen,
Let me get my buzzwords right.
Hang on, let's start this again. She's so nervous about what she's about to say.
You gotta
She
say the
knows that
buzzword.
it's not woke. And she's so nervous about it that she's fumbling and stumbling. Everything else in her speech she delivered without any stumble.
It's
and
like
all of a
Bill Murray.
sudden what?
And, it's like Bill Murray in Caddyshack when he's throwing out buzzwords like chinch bugs, nitrogen. You just got to put out your Hollywood like race, gender, Animal
This
rights.
is the good part where she's trying to say something unwoke and she knows it and she's starting to stumble. She said gender by accident. She meant to say
That's what I mean.
generation.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought she was just trying to get a buzzword in.
No,
to give her
no. I mean,
credit.
this is where she's getting nervous and,
Oh,
and
okay.
accidentally did a slip and said something woke, but she didn't mean to do that. Okay, so listen to this.
Re-education.
Across gender.
I'm gonna
debate that,
just rewind it a
Stone
little.
and Ava for
Okay.
that. This past year,
She's nervous.
Conversations celebrating Judy Garland across genders and across generations and across cultures has.
God, she sounds wasted.
has been
She's
a
so
really
nervous.
Cool reminder that it's that our heroes unite us. You know, the best among us who inspire us to find the best in ourselves.
That sounds a little too much like Trump's State of the Union, by the way, right?
Yeah, I don't like where this is going.
Oh, everybody in the room got really quiet. You can hear a pin drop.
Is she about to say MAGA? Might have to punch her.
You know, when they unite us, when we look to our heroes, we agree.
Heroes.
You know,
That's white.
and that matters. Neil Armstrong, Sally.
Listen to all these, and she's repeating herself and she's saying, and none of that in her speech earlier. Like all of that is now coming out because she's nervous. She's about to say, don't we admire the same people? She's just mentioning astronauts now. That's a little too American, I think, for this crowd.
That's white privilege.
Right. Dolores Fuerte. Venus and Serena and Selena. Bob Dylan. Scorsese. Fred Rogers. Harriet Tubman. We agree on our teachers. And we agree on our courageous
No, we don't,
men
actually.
and women in uniform who serve. We agree on our first responders and firefighters. When we celebrate our heroes,
Has she seen Facebook lately with all the anti-cop stuff? We don't actually agree on that, sweetie. Like, has she seen Black Lives Matters? They don't agree on the first responders. Right?
Oh, God, no.
She's in trouble.
Is she talking about ice?
we, we're reminded of who we are as one people, united. And no, Judy Garland did not receive this honor in her time. I am certain that this moment is an extension of the celebration of her legacy that began on our film set.
Nobody clapped.
What's her legacy? Dorothy? She was Dorothy?
Nobody clapped, by the way. Like, she just went through this whole thing about how we're our heroes unite us. Pin drop. Like, she's waiting for a little bit of applause, and then she's going to move on. The rest of her speech is just honoring Judy Garland. But that whole little segment in there, she's so nervous. She's so meek. She's stumbling around. It's bad. I mean, she knows she's like saying something against the grain, but don't we all value the same heroes? How naive, Renee. She's going to have to get
said
black
that
pilled.
her list was pretty woke, though.
Only half woke. Like firefighters,
Fred
first
Rogers?
responders. Fred Rogers is an old white man. Sally Ride, astronauts, Neil Armstrong. Bob Dylan, another white guy. You know what I mean? Like,
women in uniform, not men in uniform.
she said she did mention some Latinos, and Harriet Tubman, but nobody clapped. Like, you heard how quiet it was. They're like, "Where are you going with this, Renee?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think we
getting
like this."
Awfully close to honoring a deplorable.
Yeah. Oh my
Archetype.
gosh. I mean, Hollywood
that.
did not like that. So if she thought her career was over before, I think it's really over now. We'll see. You win an Oscar, you give a speech usually you get more work. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. Plus,
I don't know. That was pretty tame, though.
She can't enunciate. So I can't believe you're an actress and you
I wouldn't put
ruin
her
your
on
ability
Broadway.
to enunciate.
Yeah, like what? Like that's amazing that these people are actors and they can't go on stage in front of a room and be confident. That's incredible.
Well,
I mean, I would sound like that if I was in front of thousands of people. I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure, I would have the mouth paralysis and stuff. But this is an act.
I think it's one thing to be in a movie and another to be on a stage in front of a bunch of other actors who are very judgy. I mean, you could hear even Brad Pitt had like dry mouth from nerves. I thought that was, I mean, I guess Brad Pitt gets nervous too. He's like one of the top A-list guys in Hollywood. But I don't know.
I don't think I'd be nervous with this group.
No?
I'd feel pretty tough. These are a bunch of wusses.
Oh, they're just the worst people. I mean, I feel like I like them. I like going to the movies. I think, Joaquin Phoenix is so talented. I haven't seen The Joker, but he was really good in that M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs, and obviously very good as the bad guy in Gladiator. And he was great in Walk the Line as Johnny Cash. I mean, he's put out some of the best performances for me. But I was reading the other day a commentary on the Oscars, and the person just said, the thing about these people is they're just really dumb. They're good at what they do, and they're good at reading their scripts, but they're actually kind of dumb people. They don't really know anything. They're kind of ignorant. They can't really put two and two together. I was listening to an interview with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, and they were on a podcast together. It was the WTF Mark Maron podcast. And geez, I keep banging stuff on this glass table. And so Brad Pitt is kind of smart. He has a wit, and he was cracking jokes, which I think you have to be a little smart to be able to do. Oh, great. My neighbor has just started his loud car. Did you hear that?
No.
This guy, my neighbor, bought some old Ford. This is a surfer guy. He bought like an old Ford truck. He starts it every day and lets it run for an hour.
Wow.
I don't know what he's doing. Running fluids through his car because it's like a piece of junk. But I'm not sure that's very woke of him to do that.
Maybe he got the carbon credits. And
he must have bought.
He must have bought.
Run your old diesel machine credits at the store.
He can just run that baby all day.
He does have 3 Range Rovers in addition to his piece of shit Ford, so he's obviously got money. Lives in a house on the water. Anyway, so
Brad Pitt's smart because he's cracking jokes.
Brad Pitt can crack a joke.
An idiot.
Leo, oh my gosh, poor man. He's just, now I know why he dates 19-year-olds. He just really is kind of dumb.
Because he can.
Because he can, and also because he's dumb. He's dumb like a 19-year-old girl.
Yeah, he can relate.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Is that green?
I got my nails done yesterday, and oh my God, the lady said, yeah. That's the level of
why
his
would anyone
abilities.
think these people are smart? Why is anyone listening to them? It's just because they have a platform. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, and
they're just morons.
And because when they speak,
did you ever meet the people in high school that were like that?
When we hear them speak, more often than not, it's from a script that someone else wrote. So even their talk shows are scripted. Like even when they go on Ellen or they go on Jimmy Kimmel,
yes,
even that is scripted. That is not casual. That is not, that's 3 minutes of scripted storytelling.
Yeah.
So they're not out there speaking for themselves very often. And when you see them on interviews where like they're out promoting a movie, they get asked the same questions over and over and they have the same answers over and over. Those are also probably pre-thought of. They sit down and they go, okay, you're probably going to get asked these dozen questions. Come up with an answer for each, or here's your answer for each one. So, yeah, I think
it's a combination of a lot of things. Like, first of all, did you know people in high school or whatever that were in theater or choir or any of that kind of stuff?
Sure.
Musical. Yeah. I mean, these people were the most overwrought.
Yeah, they were all neurotic.
Hyper emotional neurotics, and they were always in some sort of like emotional meltdown.
Yeah, they were the neurotics.
Chad was dating Jennifer, and they were like, one of them was always running away somewhere. I mean, they were just like nuts.
They were.
And then
they weren't all stupid though, but they were neurotic, as I recall.
Well, they were just overwrought, emotional people. So, and then they go into that field because they're sort of empathetic and they're able to channel other people and other emotions, which is a skill that I imagine is very consistent with, sort of an empathetic, like someone who's focused on other people rather than logic or sense or ideas or math or something like that. They're focused on other people, and that's how they're oriented. So they become very empathetic, and they're stupid, and then they get money, and they're out there in the public, and they just feel like,
and everyone around them is saying, "Oh my God, you are the most amazing thing."
Yeah. So now they have a God complex. Plus, they're overwrought, and half of them are on drugs, and then they're talking about, and they want their lives to have meaning because they kind of don't have meaning because what they're doing is sort of silly. And then so they attach themselves to causes that they think other people will, so it's just a perfect storm of pathology that, makes the Hollywood star and then makes them into like, to attach themselves to these secular left-wing causes. Because everyone needs meaning in their life. And, because they can't attach themselves to religion or they're not smart enough to understand secular philosophy, they go for what's there, which is leftist bromides.
And that is the dominant culture. But I'm starting to feel like it's so obvious these people are so, like, it's changing. These people are seeming so dumb and silly at this point, and nobody's tuning in and everybody's making fun of them. And they don't yet realize that they're being poked fun of yet. And they're getting a little shrill because, they're trying to protect what they know and what they've been surrounded by, which is this woke culture, their whole entire career, the last two generations, I'd say, in the last 25, 30 years,
Yeah.
But the multiculturalism, the diversity worship, the anti-Americanism, all of that stuff. But I think the reason that people out here, I think the reason we look to them and admire them and like them is because A, other people are writing their words for us, but B, they often play characters that we can, if you're playing Johnny Cash, you absorb all of his coolness and all of his, heroism and all, Johnny Cash was a real American hero.
Yeah, cool guy.
And very cool guy. So by playing him, we're looking at that guy and going, oh, he's like Johnny Cash, He gets some of that attached to him. Or if you play a superhero, you get some of that superhero amazingness attached to you. We think that Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. We think he is,
We do.
Well, I
see what you're saying, though. There's a glamour to, or like the Ocean's 11 guys, there's
so
cool
hip and smart chic, and cool and glamorous. Yeah. I think glamour is the right word. It's fake.
These are good-looking people.
Yeah, but
that people want to look at.
It's not just about their looks. The glamour is that these personalities that they're portraying get attached to them when they don't actually have that personality. Mm-hmm. So Joaquin Phoenix is actually not as good as Johnny Cash. He's not as cool. He's not as creative. He's not as heroic. He's not as, there's nothing about him but he gets to take 10% of that away with him after he's played him. We attribute Johnny Cash's everything about him and everything in the script. We attribute that to Joaquin Phoenix because we don't know him except through that. We're not his friend. We're not his neighbor. We don't really know him. The only thing we really know about him are the characters that he plays. So he gets to have some of that attached to him. And so that I think looking up to these celebrities is kind of a natural response to just seeing them in these parts, these great parts, Well,
how do you explain the public's reverence for like Gilligan then?
Gilligan? I don't
like
think
from Gilligan's
they revered
Island.
That guy very much. Did we revere, what's his name?
Skipper.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. These were not people we idolized.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Other people, Doug, did not idolize Skipper and Gilligan. I don't know about you.
I like that. What about the professor? That guy was cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe Ginger, right?
Ginger. Oh my God. She was great. Marianne. I love that cast.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we took this right.
So, well, Hollywood stars are just, they're, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Like people get typecast and they get, their
it's
coolness.
Not even typecast because Joaquin Phoenix has played bad guys and good guys. But
I didn't mean the typecast. I mean, we attach them to their it's a glamorous occupation because you're, especially if like you play a gangster like Al Pacino and De Niro, like they kind of think they're those guys. Look at how De Niro acts.
There's 100 guys making you look cool on screen for 2 hours or whatever in a series. They're doing your wardrobe, your hair, your makeup, your voice, everything about it. And you get the character was written by a writer. And in the case of playing a real person like Johnny Cash, that his whole life was cool. And you get to take some of that onto you as far as we're concerned. Like we look at him and we see Johnny Cash because we saw that. And so I
John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, these kinds of guys, they become those heroes.
Yeah. And so I think that it's kind of natural that we look up to these people. But it isn't real. Like it is a glamour. Glamour in the real sense of that word, where it's a fake kind of mirage that we're seeing, or we think we're seeing, because that's the only way that we know these guys is through these cool roles. We don't really know them. And what must make you so insecure to be one of them is that you know that you're not really that person, and you know that people look at you like that person.
Yeah.
So Joaquin knows he's not Johnny Cash, but he knows that everybody thinks he is. And so he has this, can you imagine having to leave your house and represent that every freaking day? That would be so stressful,
So bottom line, we're all being lectured to by people who are really good at pretending to be other people, who have sort of like personal identity crises.
Yeah, I think they're all neurotic. And they are neurotic people to begin with, like you said.
Of course.
And it's not just the empathy, but they're also so in touch with their own intense emotions from my own experience being on video, when I do a video, I have to sort of bring this intensity that is not normal for me. It's like me, but more intense. And if I don't do that, I'm flat on video. Like it's not like real life. So I don't know why that is that way, but that is the way it is. If I bring just me the way that I am talking to you at a coffee shop, on video, that's going to be kind of dull. But when I'm portraying a part or reading a script or whatever, I have to be this sort of intense version of myself. It's kind of uncomfortable, and it takes a lot of energy. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's kind of like the announcers that do commercials who are like, this Sunday at Dorsch Ford, blah, blah, blah.
And if they didn't do
no
that,
one talks like
it
that.
would sound like, this Sunday at the Ford dealership, we're going to have a sale on it would sound so low key that no one would care. So I think these people have an innate ability. They're more intense with their emotions anyway. And so for them, it's natural to be, so melodramatic. This is so hard. Like that's their normal existence. So that on screen, they can sort of jump out at you. And even when they're doing something what seems subtle, for them, they live in this intense emotional place. And so they're naturally neurotic people.
Yeah, and I think that makes them more amenable to these like liberal leftist causes that on the surface, are sort of like a secular religion that involve empathy and
right.
And
it's
again,
all about
they can,
feelings.
And and sometimes I think their intentions are right, but once again, I've written about this before, they conflate empathy with a government program or a certain politics.
Right.
It's sort of like, hey, we all care about homeless people.
Therefore,
that must mean that you want to tax the shit out of everyone and give money to the homeless. No, that, or, hey, I care about people getting sick and I want a great medical system. Therefore,
the government
I must
should do
want one payer, single payer, universal health. No, that's not what it means.
right.
Or I care about kids getting killed, in a mass shooting. Therefore, you must want to ban guns. No, that's not the conclusion that follows.
Right.
And so I think they're so dumb that, and it's, again, we see this in the gun debate and everything else. It's like you see someone get killed by a gun and the Hollywood person doesn't step back and say, okay, why did that person get killed? What happened? What's like the rational response to it? What are the consequences of banning guns? Like, what's the history of like why we have gun ownership in the Second Amendment? They say, oh, guy got shot, ban gun,
right?
Must ban gun, and then they get overwrought about that, like crazy. Like, how dare you want to kill kids? They just have like this linear.
They're just emotional. They don't
mindset.
have, they're emotional people. That's what we've learned. And everybody is sick of being lectured by these people. Everybody's getting hip to the ignorance and the ridiculousness, and they've gone very radical lately, and people are sick of it. And they're going to learn their lesson, and they're starting to. I mean, they're so freaking woke, they couldn't have a host the last 2 years because they can't find anyone with talent and an ability to host the Oscars that isn't problematic or might be problematic. Like when Kevin Hart gets canceled because of one joke from 10 years ago. This is a comedian who made a joke about not raising his child gay or something like that. And so therefore he can't host the Oscars. So then, we'll just do no host. That's fine. Well, nobody's tuning in. The ratings were down last year after Kevin Hart got canceled. And this year they didn't even bother to try to find a host. They just were like, we can't find a host that we can't be sure there won't be a scandal. So we just won't do a host at all. Well, they got the lowest ratings ever. So you know what? That's what happens. All right, that's the end of our show today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the House of Sunny podcast.
There is a house called the House of Sunny. It's filled with satire and fun. It's been the demise of bad ideas, and we'll know what's right when she's done. So download this free podcast now and give perspectives you may lack. It's concise and right and achieves worth